Hello, everybody out there in Elvis Nation. How is everybody doing? So glad to be back. The Elvis Nation show, episode number 8. Gonna start off on kind of a sour note, and it's my fault totally. I had some, well, not my fault, but some things came up which precluded me from being able to record our second installment of Jumpsuit Corner with Dylan, but that will be back soon, and we'll have that up and running. So it's just a little break from that, but we're still going forward with that. It just scheduling mix-ups happen sometimes. You know, it's not an NBC show where we have all this staff able to coordinate everything sometimes. And luckily for us, most things run on schedule, like Mussolini and the trains. What? That was a dumb analogy. Like, yes, we're doing things the way a dictator would. So God bless us. Though we have a great show in store for you tonight. It's going to be a little heavier on the reaction side of things. Got some cool stuff lined up. Of course, we got the Leon Lounge, the Wonder Wheel, the continuation of Elvis and Me. But I'm going to tell you what, we're going to start off with something awesome here. The Elvis Nation is full of talented people who love Elvis. And one of my favorite live bands, and I've never actually heard live, but I've seen a lot of their videos, a UK outfit, you might have seen them in the comment sections, the Kopy Katz. They're just a rockabilly inferno on stage, and they play all kinds of classic stuff, even have started to put out some of their own original compositions that I was lucky enough to react to on my other channels. So I have a reaction to their version of Burning Love, and they gave me exclusive access to come and check this out, and I was so honored because they just have such a sizzle to their sound. They really do. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, a group that is part of the Elvis Nation, the Kopy Katz, great friends of the channel since I've been around doing this thing on YouTube. And here they are with Burning Love.
Here we go.
That's awesome. Man, I'm telling you what, they had me from the intro here. I didn't see that arrangement coming, and I just thought it fit. It actually gave the song a great lift off. And another thing too, there's such a full sound. It really is a fully fleshed out sound they have. When you have a trio sound like a quartet because of the fullness of their sound, you know you have something awesome. Proficient musicianship and just total live energy. I'm telling you what, they shoot out solar flares from the stage. God, I wish I lived in the UK, because this is the exact type of music I love to see live. There's just such a raw and grittiness. Like I said, they're proficient musicians, but they also have fun with it, you know? And another thing I like is they did it their style. They weren't trying to mimic Elvis. The only commonality is the composition itself. This is totally their style. God, I wish I could clone myself so there could be a UK Brent. Man, because they're back to gigging again, thanks to restrictions being lifted. So if you know anybody in the area, I'm going to post a link to their website as well as their YouTube channel. Check them out, man, because I would do anything to be able to see them live, and you guys have no excuse out there who live near them, so you guys got to check them out. And I love the bridge here. You know, in the normal recording, they use the backing vocals as the driving force here. To translate it to guitar. Just, ooh, loved it, man. Man, that was just, oh, what a way to start an episode. Loved it. And a special shout out to them. I'm going to put their, like I said in the video, their links over on the description. Go to their site, subscribe to their channel, enjoy the tunes. There's just so much great stuff there. And I thank them so much for getting back with me and giving me permission to kind of go into their sound. And it was just such a privilege. And talk about privilege, we're now going to move on to luck. Luck as in the Wonder Wheel. And welcome to the Elvis Nation show Wonder Wheel. This is how it works. If you have left a comment on the previous episode, your name is automatically placed on the Wonder Wheel for the next episode. I spin the wheel and whoever's name lands gets a free Elvis song reaction of their choice that will air within 1 or 2 to 3 days after they win. Now, the winner must visit the comment section of this episode and list 1 request and 2 alternates in case I've already reacted to 1 or 2 of them. Good luck, everybody. Okay, let's see who Lady Luck favors this week. Okay, and I always wonder how to pronounce this. Snorkabogan. Either way, you won, so list your reaction choices in the comment sections of this video, and congratulations. And we'll be back next week with some all-new Wonder Wheel action. You know what? They always say if you want to start off a good show, have a drink or two. And kind of into it, and I could use that drink. I'm gonna mosey on over to the Leon Lounge. And was that intro cheesy as hell or what? Oh my God, I'm turning into the dork I swore never to become when I was younger, and here I am. It's happening either way. It's all cheesy. It's good fun. The Leon Lounge. Let's go and hear what Leon has to say. We're going to be going over our recent exploration into the live comparison series, Elvis Presley, How Great Thou Art. I highly encourage you to go to Leon's site. I'll provide the videos in the links. Check out his presentation. Then come over to my page, and I'll have the link there in the description as well, and watch the special that we did on it. You'll have just a couple hours there of some amazing fun as well as some quality insight. So let's step into the lounge. Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, so I'm gonna tell you what, how great thou art, how great thou production, because that was just that was off the hook. Because you know what, people were talking about how they're not into the whole kind of presentation like that. Oh, is it repetitive and not? But if you listen to it, it really shows a degree of progression. The intensity piled on with each version. And I think that what hit me as a turning point, I think it was version 5, which was in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Total polished. I like that was the one where I said in my video, you might think I missed the mark on this one, but it felt like that was one where everything was in place. Everything was focused perfectly. You heard the drumming, every instrument had equal footing in the. It was just polished. It felt like the ultimate Broadway production.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
But then when we went to version 6, I felt like we went from Broadway to a little southern shack of a church. Where it just, because all of a sudden, when he just started belting into that chorus, I mean, it was raging, intense.
Oh my God, how great thou art. It seems so, I so much faith I got to thee.
Yeah.
And then when you went to the subsequent versions, I believe it was the last two, how he did I called it the triple threat. How great, boy, that just was like, and I just thought, if you listen to the first take, or not first take, but the first version, there is such a progression. Did you notice that too, with the intensity of it?
Yeah, you notice. So it kind of starts with, I think, version 6, which is the one in
Nashville.
I would say Memphis.
Oh, it was in Memphis. That's right.
Yeah. Memphis. Yeah, Memphis. Now that's the one with the reprise as well.
Yes.
Now that's the Grammy winner. That was the Grammy winner. That's the one that won the best inspirational performance from that year. And then you suddenly find yourself go to version 7, as you said, where you have that 13th of December 1975 midnight show, and Michelle actually showcased the ending of that on her channel a couple of weeks back there, and I weighed in on the comments and that, and I said you can almost feel the roof come off the auditorium during that chorus. Now, what Elvis did when he started putting that reprise into How Great Thou Art after the power ending came in, that was because the reprise was in it before that. He had this little thing of deliberately understating it the first time, so when he did the reprise, it just felt even more powerful. And that version 7 that you're talking about is actually, that's my favourite version of How Great Thou Art.
Glad you like it. Shall we attempt it again? Let's hear do this last part again. shall bow.
This is like winning the lottery twice.
Adoration. And there proclaim, oh my God, how great thou art. Yes, my soul, I got to thee. Oh, how great thou art.
Because I just think it's almost operatic.
Yes.
It's almost operatic, and I just absolutely love it. So, was that your favorite version?
That was actually mine too, because I'm going to tell you why. Like I said, the sixth one in Memphis, it had that Broadway polish to it. It was almost like too perfect. But with 7, it was like, we're going to take off our good boy clothes and get down and dirty. And there was just a ferocity to it. I mean, it literally gripped you. Don't get me wrong. The Memphis one, it was perfect. You could see why it was award worthy and all that.
Yeah.
But when it got to that next one, it just, I felt like there was, you if you see it when you watch the special, it just, I was just totally floored. I just was like, wow. And I said, I don't know how I explained it. I said something like, we went from Broadway to like some kind of Southern church, soul shouting kind of something that would even make Satan himself say, damn, that's good, you know? And that's how there was fire to that. And I just thought it just took me to a whole different place. And then not only that, but the reprise too. How do you go back? And then not only that, but when he goes, let's go back and let's do let's do it again. How they all fell into place so easily. They didn't have the advantage of let's kind of ease our way into a lead up. They just went right into it as if they didn't miss a beat with them, man. And I was just like, oh, yeah. And it kind of had a grittier thing and stuff. And I think the live comparison stuff, I think what the magic is there are those great recordings, but sometimes there are those ones where it's just not as polished. It's a little more edgy. It's a little more, and I tend to like that contrast. I like that because if you go from Nashville and then to the sixth one, or I'm sorry, why am I keep saying I had Nashville chicken yesterday. That's why I'm thinking Nashville. Memphis to 6. That's night and day stuff.
Yeah, it is. But so it's even more drastic if you go from version 1,
yes,
to right through to version 9, the final live version. So you can have a live comparison season, and this happens quite a bit. And it happens with the one that just came up today, which was Something, was the one that came up today. So there's not a great deal of difference. There are obviously little, there are subtle differences between the first version and the final version, but they're not drastically different. But with how great they are, when you have version 1 to version 9, they're night and day.
Yeah. Version
1 is almost like, it's almost in the same sort of arrangement as the studio master, where it's more, it feels like it's sung almost straight. There's no gimmick to it, and that's not to suggest that the chorus is a gimmick, but you get what I mean.
Well, I think what it is it lacks nuance, because it's just trying to be so faithful to the way it sounded, and it's almost sort of like he just got this new paint set, okay, and he does color by number for the first one. But near the end, he's freaking Jackson Pollock or Andy Warhol or something. He's all over, taking it to a whole different level. And that's the way things kind of evolve, because it's sort of like he took the song and then made it his song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the way I saw it, because like, especially it was the last 2 performances where he repeated, 3 times, how great, That wasn't there in the beginning. He was crafting it as he was going along. It is just as much. Sometimes these live comparisons to me are just as much of an evolutionary jog as much as like the first take to Masters in a lot of ways.
Absolutely right. So version 9, the final live version. So what did you think? What did you think of that?
There was a moment, and I said, you know what? And I said this during the video. I said, let's not focus on the music for a moment, as good as it is. There's a moment where, you know, when he goes, "Take it away, fellas," and they do theirs. And then when he turns around, he's smiling at them, and then he smiles back. And what hit me is that even though, in a way, his clock was running out, there was still a joy in his face. And if you notice, a lot what I gather from those 77 performances, he could talk a little awkward sometimes because I think he just wasn't well. But yet when he sings, it was almost like he bypassed that. It was like the song was his safe place to go. And another reason I thought to decry the myth that everything in 77 was a joke, or so, I can't stand that, because I thought he, for what his capabilities were, he killed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me give you a little bit of context to that particular that final live performance. So CBS filmed 2 shows which they were going to use to compile Elvis, the CBS special Elvis in Concert. So they filmed the 19th of June show in Omaha, which is where How Great Thou Art was from, and then they filmed the show 2 days later on the 21st in Rapid City. Now, the 19th show, Elvis hadn't did a TV special since Aloha from Hawaii in January 1973. So Elvis was extremely nervous. I mean, really, really nervous. He got his hair done, which he wasn't happy with. It didn't quite. It looked more like a wig. And if you see Elvis 2 days later in Rapid City, he's had it fixed. And then what happened was Dr. Nick gave him something to calm his nerves before on stage, but unfortunately, I think he gave him too much. So Elvis was a little bit over-medicated in that show. And that 19th of June, most Elvis fans are widely accept that Elvis really wasn't good that night. It really wasn't a good show. Because although he did his best, it was partially down to the fact that he'd been nervous, and Dr. Nick had gave him just a little bit too much to try and calm his nerves. So How Great Thou Art is actually one of the real highlights of that show. In fact, I would say it's actually the highlight of that show. But to give you some idea to kind of back up what I'm saying here, when CBS released the special and when RCA released the album which accompanied it, most of the material was actually sourced from the Rapid City show, not from Omaha.
Oh, really?
For that very reason. How Great Thou Art, it made the final edit. It was in the final edit, but apart from, I think it's a performance of, I think it was Teddy Bear Don't Be Cruel, I think, and Can't Help Falling in Love at the end. Virtually none of the Omaha show was used. A lot of the Omaha stuff was released on. So if you imagine 1977, it would be a 2 LP set. Right?
Okay.
So the first LP was the special, and the second one they branded it as Extra Songs Recorded on Tour, which, although true, it's just essentially the songs they didn't use for the special, and even the majority of that is taken up from the 21st of June show. Now, it's the worst thing is it's not even Elvis's fault. His only fault, I think, for that was actually to be nervous.
Yeah.
And Dr. Nick gave him something for the nerves, and affected his performance. It really doesn't look well. If it had just been illness, then I don't think that he would have been. It gave a good a show on the 21st of June, just 2 days later. I think it's too much of a contrast for it to be illness. If that makes any sense?
No, it does. It does. And I think also with that performance, though, I think that Elvis, his voice still went places in that particular version. And like he really gave it his last. And I said, the last two performances, which I believe one was like near the end of 76, right? And then 77.
Yep.
He kind of got into a more soulful aspect of singing that song. I can't explain it, but it was a little more of a shouting kind of thing. It was a little more. Yeah. And, of course, I'm just extrapolating this, but you could almost wonder, the clock was running out, and I'm wondering if those versions, he just, oddly enough, with that song in particular, he really poured something into that, because there was a raging intensity in the version, the last two versions in the presentation. And I just, like I said, we don't have foreshadowing. I mean, he was making plans up to the very end. So, you could easily be dramatic and saying he knew, but I think sometimes people, they say, you might not know in your head something's going on, but in your body, you might know something's not right. And because it looked like he tapped into something. Like when he was just talking and announcing, this is a song we did a few years back. And I'm thinking he's just kind of going through the motions with the announcing. But then it's like when he tapped into the microphone, a light went on.
Absolutely.
He was back to who he was within the realm of his capabilities.
Yeah, I did write, and I think I mentioned it in the commentary, that version 9, a lot of fans do consider that as their favourite. But I put a lot of that down to the fact that I don't think there's a surprising amount of, and the live comparison series has kind of reinforced this view for me, is that there's an awful lot of fans that aren't aware of, say, versions 7, 8, even that version 1 from Portland, where it's almost like the studio version. But it's almost, to me, is fans pick a favourite because it's one they've seen all their years, they've got the video for it, and they'll never be swayed by that, which is fine, of course. Yeah, that's fine. But I think if it had been a level playing field and everybody had a chance to pick their song from the entire collection from day one, I think that 13th of December 1975 would be more people's favourites.
Hands down, because I'm telling you what, there were things about the first like 4 versions where, one was obviously an audience recording and stuff, and a couple of them really kind of highlighted the piano pretty well, and then like Ronnie's little, when he goes rolling thunder, you didn't really hear the drum didn't have as much of a prominence there. But, I know people would sit there and say the Memphis one was this, that, and the other. But like I said, I have 2 different criteria as far as polished production. That just is like the showcase that you want to show everyone. That Memphis version was great, but when you dived in, when we got to the next one, man, it was a soul shouting adventure. It was just, it was sort of like, now we're going to take off the shackles. I don't, and the fact that it didn't have that polish made it actually more appealing in its weird way. And I like I said, that's mine, but you're right with the live comparison. When you hear one version and everyone tells you this is great, you have no context. Okay, you have nothing to compare it by, so you're going to hear that, and then and some people have it in the mind, because I think some artists are like that, where every night they play this song, it's going to sound the same. No, no variation whatsoever and stuff. The thing is, Elvis was not a one-trick pony when it came to live recordings. And that's why I think people need to owe it to themselves to listen to that and maybe challenge what you think you already believe. Because, I mean, I've heard, I've actually heard the Memphis one before. I mean, I think a lot of people have heard that one.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, I said that time of Gold Star, and then the next one, I'm like, okay, forget what I just, in a whole different way. I go, this is wild. You'll see it in the presentation. I said, we've just gone to a whole different place. It's sort of like, this is what I'm offering for the general crowd of the greatness of it. But then I'm going to take it where I wanted, a little bit of hellfire thrown into it, just some, and it was just, I'd say musically delicious. It was just, and you did. Had you just heard it on its own, but when you hear that, like I said, it's almost like first take to master. You're hearing it, like the song. Wait, in this one, there's a little more of a nuance. In this one, and then it grows. It becomes more complex. It becomes more. And it was just a treat to listen to. And I said it too. I gave you a shout out during that. I go, you know what, Leon? I said, you are a curator among curators, because you do have to have a special ear and eye for that kind of thing. Some people might just throw a bunch of random crap together. Tell me what you like the best. But you almost kind of are like a storyteller in the way you arrange it.
Yeah. So you've got to, you can, don't get me wrong. I guess it's almost self-indulgent in a way, because I'm getting to troll through my hard drive to do this, so I'm getting a double whammy of enjoyment from this. Yeah, I'm getting the enjoyment of actually putting it together, but I'm also getting the enjoyment of listening to ones and discarding it, because I went, no, that's not quite what I'm looking for. Not quite what I'm looking for. Don't get me wrong. When I start a live comparisons, like when I start compiling a volume in the live comparison series, I have maybe 2 or 3 renditions which I have nailed on before I even start. If I've got the first one and the final one, then that's going in regardless. It doesn't matter, because that gives bookends. So that bookends the compilation, the first one and the final one. And then I think to myself, in the middle, I'll have this and I'll have that. Yeah. And then I've got to fill in the gaps.
Well, it's because you're, it's sort of like if you show a picture of like a nice looking lady or something, they just like that lady, but then you expand the picture and make her in the middle, and then there's like a zoo on one side, a jungle on the other or something. It adds a whole new dimension to what you think you were seeing, right? Yeah. And so I think it's almost like that with these, that whatever, I mean, I don't even think Elvis even thought to envision, what if we put all these together? I mean, I don't know if he made a goofed around in the booth a little bit with that or something, but the thing is, I think it's a total reimagining and kind of also too testing your complacency, because there are so many people that think, this is and what we see on the comment boards is there is no one. I like that, though, that there's almost no consensus, because we all have our subjective thing going on. I guarantee you there's going to be someone out there that's going to say, I didn't care for any of the versions. 2 was the only good one. Or, there's going to be someone out there like that, but at least you're hearing them all together. And I think that's why there were a couple of people that were naysayers about this whole program format. And and I've explained it before that, we have our little one-off reactions that are posted on the channel. But here's the thing. This stretches your Elvis thing, that whatever preconceived notions you had, this stretches it. And I go, it is so not repetitive. It is so worth looking into this and saying, because in fact, if you hear these versions live together, you just see how improvisational Elvis was.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's funny you should mention improv, because version 5, I beg your pardon, which was from Houston. Now, we included a song from that same show when in the Suspicious Minds live comparison season. And remember, that's the show where there was no orchestra there.
Same picture where Ronnie was confined to these little plexiglass. He was in a jail cell.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
And I think that what that gives you, I think that gives you a good picture of the progression because what it does, it has the same sort of arrangement as version 1, but the same arrangement as the Memphis one, but it doesn't have the brass and the flute and all that in. So you're getting a good picture of how it's evolved with Elvis's vocal, rather than anything in the background. Because, and you can hear in that it's really good in that as you hear. Because if you hear in the Memphis one, you can hear where the flute comes in, and almost at the chorus, but you can hear James Burton's guitar trying to fill in that gap, and I think that's great.
Oh, I do too.
Really different. It's something, and the whole band just had to play that little bit harder in that show. But I've got a soft spot for that version 1, because it's so close to the master.
Woo. You can appreciate it, that to be able to recreate a sound that you had on a master, that actually is no easy feat. To have that timing and everything, so it is an achievement in really playing solid.
Mm-hmm. What I also think is which makes version 1 stand apart as well, is that when Elvis recorded How Great Thou Art, he had the Imperials there. So the Stamps hadn't joined the band at that point, so he was still being backed by the Imperials in there. The Stamps didn't join until the start of 1972, when the Imperials left. So that, again, is something that brings it closer to the master. It's just these wee nuances that I think just make each version stand out slightly differently. And when we get to the next live comparison, which will be Volume 8, which is Polk Saladani, you're going to see the same sort of
I'm sorry, I'm still on Polk Saladani, because when you mention not only a special, but with a number that I'm just crazy about, that's like, I'm the kid who knows kind of what I'm getting for Christmas, you know.
See, I don't know how many versions of Polk Saladani that you've heard, right?
There are a couple of them, but I've never heard it in a live in your arrangement though.
So have you heard any past 1970 that or 1972? That's
actually no.
That's very right. That's what I want to hear, because you really are in for a treat. Because this song, from 1970 to 1971, and then on, the song. Put it this way: if you take 1970. It's different from 1971. Drastic. In one way, it's drastically different. In 72, it changes again, and then when you get to 75, it changes again. But it's not a subtle difference.
Ooh. Okay. Thanks for making. Now I gotta wait and adding to the suspense now. So it's going to make the wait that much harder. But you know what, though? I'm going to tell you what. I thought another takeaway I had from this presentation is, if you just listen to what Mr. James Burton did in a few versions as it went on, it still had a gospel feel, but there was a country element to it too. I pointed it out in one of the versions, like when they speed it up there and say, "My Savior," I go, I can hear both gospel and a little bit of country influence thrown in there. And so it showed that not only Elvis was improvising with the sound, but I got that from some of the players. And like I said, some of it might have been the miking, though, because there were some parts where you could just hear Ronnie come in like the rolling thunder. I mean, it was very profound. And then some, it's like it was so in the background, it wasn't funny, you know. And that a lot of that could be the way it was mic'd. So that's another consideration. One has to look into it. But, you know, I think what was interesting about Elvis is that a lot of people act like, you know, that we can't be three-dimensional people, you know, and Elvis proved that, yes, he was a flawed person. He dug the women and all that, and he did all that stuff. But you know what? I don't ever believe for one moment, though, that his pious side was fake. You can't fake that kind of reverence. You can't. And I think, like, you know, I tell people, if you ever want to judge someone, well, usually it's the most righteous people that have this like counterweight to them. You know, look at even you go in the Bible, David or something, you know, and I think Elvis was one of those people. He had that anointing, but like Johnny Cash was like that too. They had that love of God kind of thing. And yet at the same time, their physical troubles just really tried to work them over, and they made bad decisions and all that. So it's funny once, because I asked someone, I go, are you religious? And the guy says, well, I'm an Elvis Christian. I said, what does that mean? I didn't really understand it years ago. He goes, well, I have my flaws. He said, I still like my moonshine. I like my women, but I know I'm trying to do better. But yet I felt a genuineness. And Elvis never appeared like he was. He never appeared to be preachy or anything like that. That's what I liked.
Yeah. It's quite funny. You'll if you look, there's quite a few shots where Elvis, especially in later years, where he's wearing a crucifix and he's wearing a Star of David, and I think he's got something else on around his neck as well.
Yeah, it was like a Hebrew. It was like a little Hebrew symbol. It was like a horn. Like it was like a wavy little thing. Yeah. Yeah,
and. Somebody had asked him about that, and he said, "Why?" He says, "Well, I don't want to be kept out of heaven on a technicality."
Well, isn't that a theory going around that his mom actually had Jewish lineage or something, or like 3 generations back or something like that? Which, you know, because they on her headstone it has the Star of David too.
Well, I certainly know. That bit I'm not sure, but I certainly know that she has Native American in I think Cherokee in her definitely in her ancestry. I don't know the Jewish one. That's actually
a theory. It's out there. Like one I could care less either way, but it's just interesting because someone said that to me once. You know, he might have. I go, brother, if you know anything about history, with all the pogroms that were out there against the poor Jewish people throughout history, how many people converted to Catholicism just to avoid torture or Christianity? Right. We all have some of that in the bloodline. I'm sorry. You got to be like, there's no way, you know, and which I don't know why people fixate on that. But, you know, with Elvis putting that on his mother's thing, Elvis also believed in like the wholeness of his gospel, that from the Hebrew beginnings to the Christian end. So that could have been more of a reasoning, like he said, with his being garlanded with certain necklaces and stuff like that. And he was a spiritually curious person, though, because I remember he read a lot. I mean, he was a big reader about religion and spirituality.
Well, that's what he was reading when he died. When he died. So, and of course, there's passages underlined in the books in the books that he had that he was reading at the time. So, but I also don't think it's no surprise that the only 3 Grammys that he won were all for inspirational or gospel music.
Yes.
Because I don't think it's the music that's closest to his heart, and I've said this quite a bit in different commentaries that I've done, and I know we always end up back at Bridge Over Troubled Water, but I think that was the first song that he found where he's able to bring that gospel influence into his live show, because I think
you listen to the first few notes. I mean, I've said that on my reactions, man. This is church, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Bridge Over Troubled Water. I mean,
I said it in my commentary to version 2, that there's very few artists who could get away with singing gospel in Las Vegas, especially at that time. I think Elvis, maybe Tom Jones were the only two that come to mind, especially in the massive big venues. And I think even Elvis, it took until February 1971. So that would be his fourth Las Vegas engagement before he felt comfortable enough to bring gospel into his show then. So I think Bridge Over Troubled Water, he'd found a song where, without actually using a gospel song itself, he could use his gospel influence in how he brought the song across. So there's definitely that gospel influence throughout Elvis's live performances. And of course, as the years went on, he'd bring more inspirational songs into his show. He'd Why Me Lord, where it would highlight what it also shows his humble side as well, because with Why Me Lord, what he's doing with that is he's letting J.D. Sumner and the Stamps take centre stage, and he's essentially just joining in the chorus of that song. And then you've got Help Me as well, which he'd record actually, but that was in that Memphis show as well, because he just recorded it in '73 in Stax. And but the thing about Help Me though, it became, to me, it became more a plea as the years went on. It sounds more like a plea, but I think that's in retrospect.
Yeah, we do have the gift of hindsight, so sometimes it's like people do that, like if you already know the outcome, the events can fit in so much easier leading up to that because you already have the outcome. But yet, I you know what though, I agree with you though. I'm gonna, even though I have no proof, because you know what, I really felt in the subsequent versions after the Memphis version, he was like not just performing, he was trying to connect.
Yeah,
there's a difference. There was something he was, and I said he was trying to. In one of the videos, I said he's trying to establish a pipeline to God or something.
Yeah. Well, let's take that 13th of December '75 version, the one that we've agreed between you and I, definitely, that it's our favourite of that. I don't think you could perform that song like that unless you believe in what you're singing, unless you actually believe in what you're singing about. I don't think you could achieve that.
Thank you very much, Leon. I'm telling you what, keep your ears glued to the channel because we got some stuff coming up with Leon that we're going to be taking it to the next level. That's all I'm going to say for now. You haven't seen anything yet. It actually sounds cool to do the poor grammar choice. You ain't seen nothing yet. Has a little better ring to it, even though it's incorrect. So thank you very much, Leon. God bless you, sir. And now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next. I started a new tradition on this channel. It started out to be one thing and turned out to be something else. And it was kind of a little test run that I did, and it turned out to be successful. The people liked it. So starting on this Thursday, regularly, Thursdays, there will be a show. Do not miss it. Elvis Nation Live. It's self-explanatory, right? I'm going to tell you what. At 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No, Rod Serling is not going to enter the frame and describe how we're able to do a show at 7 p.m. on 2 different time zones. No, 2 streams. Yeah, I'm that crazy. 2 streams. It was crazy fun is what it was. So for those of you who have not been able to see the replay streams, I thought it would be just kind of fun to pick one song from each of the streams from the last Thursday we got together. And I kind of went with the songs I felt were, first of all, they were all amazing. You guys suggested some great ones, but two that really just even went a notch above all those that took me to a different place. So for the first one, which was our Greenwich Mean Time, it was Make Me Know It. Okay. And then from our second stream, which was Eastern Standard Time, First in Line. So I'm going to play those two reactions now. I hope you enjoy. And for those of you who haven't seen any of our live shows or the replays of the live shows, maybe these videos will kind of give you a little treat, a little hint as to what would happen if you were to show up and enjoy those. So without further ado, let's do it.
That you love me and swear it to be true. But if you care, come over here and make me know you do. Come on now, make me know it. Go ahead and show it. But if you care, come over here and make me know you do. You say you've got kisses and swear that they're brand new. I think that's fine if you ain't lying, but to make me know you do. Come on now. I think that's fine if you ain't lying, but make me know what you do. You won't have no trouble proving it to me. Come right along and you'll find me helpful as can be. You say you wanna hold me and stick to me like glue. Well, here's deceiving, seeing is believing. Make me know what you do. Come on now, make me know it. Go ahead and show it. I say here's deceiving, seeing is believing. Make me know what you do. You won't have no trouble proving it to me. Come right along and you'll find me helpful as can be. You say you wanna hold me and stick to me like glue. Well, here's deceiving, see is believing. Make me know what you do. Come on now, make me know it. Go ahead and show it. I say here's deceiving, see is believing. Make me know what you do. Oh, make me know it. Go ahead and show it. Make me know it. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, the bass in that, the backing vocals, man, that got me right away. That oh, I love it. And I like the backing arrangement. Instead of just going doo-wop, doo-wop, they're like, ooh, ooh. I mean, there's a little extra little flair there going on. So I like that. And I like how Elvis's voice just slopes right there. Like when he comes and make me know it too. Ooh.
You say you've got kisses and swear that they're brand new. I think that's fine if you ain't lying, but to make me know what to do. Come on now, make me know.
Yeah, I think you know, and I think too, what is it about rock and roll that makes incorrect grammar sparkle? You know, if you ain't lying instead of if you are lying, or you know, I mean, if you're not lying, you know, that wouldn't fit as well, but you ain't lying has just a little more edge in that. I love this line in it. I gotta find it here. Hearing's deceiving and seeing's believing. I love that is just great. All in all, a good little bouncy song. It's not one I've ever heard on the radio, so I'm not sure if it sometimes it's weird because sometimes there's something that's a hit when it comes out and it's played in perpetuity on the radio. Love Me Tender, all that. Then there are some songs that hit big when they come out, but they just don't get further airplay once the span of their Billboard 100 spotlight fades, kind of thing.
When they gave out islands that were shiny stars that shine, my darling, my darling, you were the first in line. When they gave out lips like honey, that wholly new thrill every time. My darling, my darling, you were the first in line. There may be others that know you longer, who pledged their hearts to you, but there's no other could love you stronger, any stronger than I do.
Right there. Oh, man.
Don't refuse me, say you choose me, I'm yours, oh please be mine, my darling, say I'm your darling, the first and the last in line. There may be others that know you longer, who pledged their hearts to you, but there's no other could love me stronger, any stronger than I do. Don't refuse me, say you choose me, I am yours, oh please be mine, my darling, say I'm your darling, the first and the last in
Just that opening, though. This is an example of what it sets the mood right away.
gave out
Oh, how his voice just stretched there for a second. But listen in the background, you hear that guitar. Ding, 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 ding. It's subtle, but that's an example, like I've said before, less is more. And it's and the bass is also very complimentary. Oh, I mean, to have that like little vocal hike, but have it be so smooth. This is just why 60 some odd years later, we're still just enthralled by this. Now this part, when he jumps into this, there's just, the bass works, but the backing vocals, there's just such a awesome synergy going on there. And not only that, but the way they recorded it is Elvis's voice was a little more distant than right in your face. Almost as if they were in a different acoustic environment. Total night jam. This wouldn't work as well at 7:30 in the morning. Right now, man, that was some wicked awesome fun. Just had so much fun and doing these live streams. And of course, you know, it's not a well-oiled machine yet. I'm still trying to get used to the equipment and stuff. It'll be a lot more polished as we go along. But talking about polish, there's a movie that endeavors to have polish, but it just lacks some fundamental things that would make it an otherwise great movie. In fact, it's kind of barely good. There's some cool parts to it, Elvis and Me. There were some parts I really thought were a little pretty cool, showing it from her perspective, Priscilla's, but I just think like it's a victim of the time period too, where TV dramas just kind of tended to be teeming with cheesiness. And so there's some sad drama to it, and I do think it's a little one-sided against Elvis. You know, he doesn't really get to show his perspective. And so I do have a few complaints about the movie. And like I said, just because it's about Elvis doesn't mean it's amazing. And so I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it's not awesome either. So here we go with another installment in our ongoing series of reacting to Elvis and Me.
Now, Scylla, these girls, it's better you don't ask them over to Graceland. Elvis wouldn't like having strangers around. So it's better you don't get too chummy. They're just after one thing.
You mean they just want to get to Elvis?
That's pretty much all they have on their minds. Writing him letters, sending him pictures. They'd do anything just to meet him. You gotta be careful.
Never cut your hair, Scylla. Men love long hair. Long and jet black. You need this to protect yourself.
From what?
If anything should happen, I'm not around. Just make me feel better to know that you have this.
Priscilla.
Okay, is it me? And I'm not trying to... I know some people probably love this movie and stuff, but one thing that's a major turnoff is it seems like she is cognizant of Elvis's passion about his career, his pills, but he talked music a lot. And I don't see that part of him shining in this. And I know they're doing it from her perspective, but from what I know about Elvis, he was very passionate about where he could go with music and stuff. Wouldn't that take up a lot of his conversation instead of him always just trying to be this, like, I don't know, they're like this malevolent seductor or something? I'm not saying, it just feels like they're making him like creepy or something. And I just don't get that vibe from him. That was not what his spirit projected. And I mean, I know we all have our demons, but I'm talking about his true essence. I'm not saying he was perfect, but this kind of makes him, I don't know, like his whole life is about nothing but his desires or something. And music is like third or fourth or fifth on the list or something.
Is something wrong?
No, Reverend Mother.
I feel as though you're not only falling away from your studies, You seem to be losing the faith. You can talk to me, Priscilla. I can sense that you're troubled, preoccupied.
I don't know.
Nothing
Being with
wrong
Elvis might have something to do with that.
So? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Is everything all right, Priscilla?
Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah, the hotel here seems to be filled up. I was sleeping on the couch in there.
So, do you like it? Living here at Graceland?
Oh, you kidding? Greatest thing of my life, working for Elvis.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be picky, but a somewhat mullet was really in at that time. Really? They couldn't. That's the kind of hair I had in the 80s. Oh my God. Do your homework, people.
Getting to go to Hollywood and all. Heck, I'm kind of lucky to have a place to sleep, you know. I've been sort of shifted between relatives since my mom died.
What are you doing down here?
Nothing, just getting something to drink.
What were you talking about?
Nothing, E. She just looked upset. I asked her if everything was all right.
Son, if you want to keep your job, you'll mind your own business.
The haunting Elvis
She's all right,
theme.
it'll be me. Scylla, you coming upstairs?
Schoolgirl by day, femme fatale by night. Would I ever live up to his expectations? I had to be sensitive, loving, spiritual, and understanding with no problems of my own. I had to be pretty, sexy, and laugh at his jokes.
Yeah, what a trooper. I'm sure it was a nightmare being with Elvis.
I had to play hostess to 20 or 30 people every night. I also had to graduate from high school and pack a gun.
Okay, you chose to be with him. Now it's all his fault. Am I the only one who's reading it this way? That this is so stupid? Man.
I was determined to be active, to fill the long, lonely days without Elvis in a constructive way. Asking his father for money was humiliating, so I went to finishing school and I learned how to model and I got my first job. I felt good about myself. I was contributing in some way. But all the time, my heart was aching to be with Elvis.
The man who made you so miserable.
Give it up. I said give it up.
But it gives me something to do.
You make up your mind it's either me or a career.
Okay, I quit. So, how are you and Aunt Margaret getting along?
All right. She's your typical Hollywood starlet.
When can I come out to Hollywood?
I bring the sandwich to a banquet. Anyway, we're wrapping the film up. You just stay there and you keep the home fires burning.
Well, the flame's burning on low. Bye. He finally sent for me. All these years, I'd listened for hours while Elvis and the boys told about all the fun they had making movies. Now, I'd be a part of it. But nobody seemed to be having much fun. No water fights and no pie throwing.
Is that your girlfriend here you can't play, huh?
Mind if I borrow this young fella for a moment? Honey, why don't you write an address for them? Can't believe she did it.
Who?
Aunt Margaret. Every major newspaper in the country has picked it up. The rumors spread like a disease. Honey, you're gonna have to leave. The Colonel thinks it'd be best if you just went back to Memphis until all this blows over.
What's going on? You know, I'm sick of all these secrets. You've got notes, newspapers, telephone calls. I hate them! Why didn't you just keep her butt in Sweden where she belongs?
Don't give me a bad time. I got enough on my mind.
I don't want to go back to Memphis.
Fine. Maybe it's time you visited your parents. I'm gonna get you on the next plane. How about that?
No!
Come on, I'll help you back.
No, no. I'm gonna throw a pot against the wall to make it dramatic.
Please don't send me back. Please. I didn't mean it, really. Elvis.
Esposito? You got her on a plane? Good. Get her out of here.
Elvis. Wait.
Get you home where you belong.
Wire hangers.
Elvis, please, I'm...
Nobody around here understands anything. Joe's waiting up front. Don't call and don't write letters. Hey, hey!
God.
Honey, put that thing down. Where do you think you're going? It's just this thing about Aunt Margaret. It's over, you know. It's over, Stella.
I'm sorry.
Him loves her.
You know, it would have been really cool if Elvis broke the fourth wall and said, "Hey, you over there playing the piano, kid, you turn that down. We're trying to have a real moment here, and you're making this sappy."
thought the leaden winter would bring you down forever, but you rode upon a steamer to the violence of the sun.
Okay, wait, so they're throwing in like late 60s music with Vietnam shots, but then they're going back to 64 with the Beatles arriving. Who the hell put this together? This, God. Yeah, I think of acid rock when I think of the Beatles arriving in 64. It's exactly what I feel.
This is the living room. Oh, and we have a great view of the city right out there.
Yeah.
So come to the den. Hey, everybody. These are my parents. This is Jerry Schilling.
Hi.
And that's Jean.
Hi.
And Billy. Pleasure. And that's Joe Esposito. I told you about him.
Oh, yes.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And that's Demont.
Hi, folks.
Well, it's good to meet you all. Please, gentlemen, sit down.
Thank you.
So, who are all these guys? What do they do?
Well, Joe is Elvis's assistant. He sort of takes care of everything. And Jean hands him water on the set. And Jerry's great. Well, Jerry, Demont, and Billy just sort of take care of him.
It's ridiculous. Nobody in the world needs all those people working for him.
Come on, I'll show you the rest of the house before Elvis gets here.
I could use a bunch of people working for me.
With a lonely sea, children everywhere. When you shoot at bad men, shoot at me. Take me to that strange, enchanted land.
My parents are on their way back to the hotel.
Grown up, seldom understand.
They really enjoyed the evening. I could tell. You just won them over. Oh, you know how you were worrying about your hair the other day? Well, I saw this picture of Victor Nelson, and it's kind of long now with a slight wave, and I thought maybe you should take a look at it.
Are you out of your mind, woman? Those guys have been copying me for years, and now you want me to copy them.
No. I just meant...
With a long
Robert Goulet. Hate that son of a bitch.
Elvis, what are you doing?
You know I've got a terrible temper, Scylla. I inherited it from my mama. And when she got mad, she'd grab a frying pan and throw it at Daddy, and he's got a temper, too.
I want to help you, but I don't know how.
Listen to my new record today. Colonel's been tampering with my soundtracks. I don't have a chance in hell. I've been telling him for years all I need is good material. I don't give a damn about publishing. I mean, they thought everything I sang would be a hit, but I knew better. Trouble is now, it's so damn hard to find any hit material. Can't do anything with this garbage they've been dishing me up lately. And while I'm making these movies, the Beatles are taking over the country.
But there's only one Elvis. You know that.
Come here. You know I could never be with anyone else, Sadness. Only you. Now listen. This make us feel better.
No. No more pills. I'm through with pills. And I want you to stop taking them, too. Everything is so crazy. As soon as the movie's over, let's go back to Graceland.
Come here. Be nice to those cats, Uncle Vester. They got me up on that hill, man. Why, Elvis? Have you seen Priscilla? No. Hattie. Hattie, where's Priscilla?
She ain't come downstairs yet, Mr. Elvis.
Priscilla? Priscilla?
What?
Sadness? Sit down.
What are you doing?
Close your eyes. Close them. Are they closed?
Yes, it better be good.
Okay. Keep them closed. Okay. All right.
What have you done now?
Open them. Open it up.
Elvis.
We're gonna be married. Her is gonna be his.
We flew into Las Vegas at 5 a.m. and we were rushed through the ceremony. The reception was filled with people we didn't even know. We'd been up for 24 hours straight, but it didn't matter. My foot slid into the glass slipper. I was Mrs. Elvis Presley.
Elvis, what made you finally decide to get married?
Well, I guess it's about time. You know, with the life I lead, I just sort of decided to wait. All the court engagements. Daddy helped me out here.
I can't reach you, son. You just slipped through my fingers.
Priscilla, how does it feel to be Mrs. Presley?
I don't know. It's all happened so fast.
Do you plan to live here or in Memphis?
Oh, in Memphis.
Elvis, where do you plan on taking your honeymoon? Mr. Presley, do you feel this marriage will affect your popularity amongst the female public?
No.
Hey, waiter, can we get around to that bunch over here? Yeah. Waiter. You did it.
Unforgettable. That's what you are. Unforgettable. Though near or far. Like a song of love that clings to me. Ooh,
Was it worth the wait?
Darling, have we ever been wasting time?
That cross is a sign, Daddy. I knew it as soon as I spotted it from the highway. I'm telling you, Daddy, I gotta have this ranch.
$500,000 is way overpriced.
Elvis, you've got to see the house. I've always dreamed of a ranch like this.
You can't afford this, Elvis. Record sales are down.
We're gonna call it Circle G for Graceland.
The house is so cute. And it's small. I could take care of it all by myself. It'd be so much fun.
You kids got waxing years. You can't hear what I'm telling you. Movies aren't doing so good, Elvis. Son, it's time to look to the future.
Tell them we'll take the whole ranch just the way it is, including cattle and equipment.
I'd have to put Graceland up as collateral here.
Whatever it takes, Daddy. We'll just do it.
I wanted to freeze those days. I wanted to stop time. I wanted our own little world where nothing could intrude, where nobody could take him away.
I don't want to leave, Daddy. It's the first time I felt like getting up in years.
You have a commitment, son, a movie contract to honor.
Yeah, I read that script, Daddy, and I don't want to do it.
This here ranch has cost us about $1 million. The way I see it, we have a cash flow problem. You got no choice.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys are complaining. You can't blame them. I mean, kids want to get back to their friends, and wives want to go home.
Hey, you mean I bought all that stuff, best of everything, man, horses, trailers, tractors, and everybody wants to split?
This ranch is nothing but a hobby that we can't afford. Got taxes coming due?
I told you, Daddy. Just pay the taxes. I make $1 million, just pay them half.
But then you'll do the movie.
You keep eating like that, you're gonna need a wardrobe for two. You're gonna be the biggest thing in pictures, E.
What are you trying to say?
Hell, E. You keep eating like that, you're gonna get fat.
So I'll take some diet pills.
Son, you're throwing your money away. You hear about somebody sick or depressed, the first thing you do is you go out and you buy them a new car. This can't go on.
Why is it every time I start having a good time, you throw that out? Don't you work on saving your marriage and stop worrying about me?
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with my marriage. Hey! I'm just worried about the money. We're dipping into the savings.
Hey! Why don't you go back to your phony peroxide lawn and leave me alone?
You got no right to talk about Dee that way.
You know, I never could figure out what you saw in her. Or how you could do that to my mama.
Hey, look, E. I gotta give the Colonel a definite answer on that picture today. What do you want me to tell him?
Tell him we're going back to Hollywood. Nobody around here understands anything.
It's not true. I do. I know how hard it must be. It seems like everybody wants something from you.
My mama. She's the only one who really understood.
Living in a shadow, girl.
Oh, my Lord, Priscilla.
Priscilla!
I don't want to get fat.
What are you talking about?
This was was supposed to be time for us to be alone. We're gonna have a baby.
Say that again.
We're gonna have a baby. We went back to Hollywood until Elvis finished the movie, and then it was home to Graceland to wait for the arrival of our baby.
It is real pretty, Priscilla.
Oh, I love it. Everything is just the way I planned. It's like a breath of fresh air. I've got to go get Elvis and bring him in to see.
Honey, don't run in your condition.
Elvis, the baby's room is all finished and it looks adorable. Come up and see. Something wrong?
Just, nothing's going right for me. You know, I have to have time to think.
What can I do to help?
You know, I'm just bored, you know? I mean, I'm just bored to death around here.
You want to get the horses? We could ride around in the pasture.
I'm just sick of the horses. Man, I'm so restless. I need some excitement or something. Or maybe we need to be apart for a while. You know? Trial separation.
What did I do?
That's nothing that you did. It's not you, it's just something that I'm going through. I was reading about Sammy Davis Jr. and My Bread. They went through trial separation. It's nothing new.
This isn't fair, Elvis.
This just isn't fair. I'm 7 months pregnant, you bastard. This isn't fair.
I just need a break.
Got it.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
And thank you very much to the people that brought Elvis and Me to life, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was all good fun. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody. You know, you take a week off and you feel like you're missing a limb. That's how attached I am to this awesomeness. And you guys are totally great. You've been supportive. We got so much cool stuff coming down the pike. So stay tuned, and remember, get your piece of the peace. TCB, my friends.